Hello, everyone. My name is Rafal, and I would like to welcome everyone into my Headshot Photography podcast. Today, I have a special guest, Sasha Onyshchenko, amazing photographer. I'm sure you don't need too much introduction. Your work speak for itself. Even yesterday, when I post, we're gonna have this interview. People just like, oh my god, like this guy is just amazing. So welcome to the podcast, and I want to just say big thank you for accepting my invitation. I'm really looking forward to talk to you. You're also fellow Canadian. You live on the other side of Canada, so you're really far.
Mhm.
But yeah, as I said, your work is amazing, and I'm looking forward to dive into your photography world because it seems like you've achieved some amazing stuff. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. And hello, Rafal. Hello to your viewers. Good to be here. Let's do this.
Absolutely. So, first question I always ask about, tell me a little bit about your story. How did you get into photography? We speak briefly before we start this podcast. You came
Mhm.
from Ukraine. Now you live in Montreal in Canada. So, how your basically journey with photography started?
My background is classical ballet. I used to
Okay.
be a ballet dancer. This is what I started to do from childhood. Then it became a profession. I danced professionally for about 13
Okay.
years, including here in Canada in Moncton, New Brunswick.
Okay.
And there I picked up a camera one day and started shooting. And, how
Impressive.
same as for many photographers out there, it completely took over as my new passion. And in 2010, I stopped dancing. I quit ballet and I
Yeah.
went full time as a photographer.
Oh wow. Okay. So you've got a lot of experience. So did you bring any skills? I know this is completely two different things: ballet dancing and photography. Um, but did you have a chance to bring some of those? I don't want to say
Well, I
skills, but some of
started.
the passion and all this stuff.
Well, when I picked up a camera, I first started taking behind the scenes pictures as I was
Okay.
dancing. So I was working in a small ballet company, and I was dancing. I
Mhm.
had my camera backstage. I would go backstage and
Mhm.
uh, grab some shots from the wings. But when I stopped dancing, I went through so many different stages. I was doing weddings and families
Okay.
and interiors. I was trying pretty much everything.
Okay.
I never thought I would be doing ballet like professionally.
Hmm.
It wasn't until 2015 when my wife and I we moved to Montreal.
Okay.
She joined local company, Le Grand Ballet de Montreal,
Hmm.
and mm, yeah, even then I wasn't thinking that I will do a lot of ballet work. But then eventually, there are so many ballet companies and there are so many dancers in Montreal. It's a very diverse dancing scene here.
Okay.
Um, and eventually it led to jobs, first portraits, then shows, rehearsals, and eventually to advertising and poster work. So right
Okay.
now, ballet is about maybe like 30% of my business.
Hmm.
How I use that, I mean, when I moved to Montreal, I realized that it would be sad if I just quit. I was studying to do ballet like all my life, pretty
Hmm.
much, and then one day just quit and forget about it. It felt like such a waste.
Okay.
So I think I'm pretty fortunate that I can use that experience and my knowledge to help ballet companies with their
Hmm.
like photography needs, basically.
Yeah.
Because it's really crucial to understand to understand the subject, to understand what
Hmm.
you're shooting, basically.
Yeah. Well, but that's exactly what you're saying. I think it's extremely important that like you have that experience, you have that knowledge, so you can implement that into photography. Because I'm guessing if someone like me would have to do the work you do, I have
Mm.
no understanding of ballet whatsoever. Like I did couple shoots. It's interesting that was decades ago, and I was in Calgary, and that was like a Ukrainian, like a it wasn't actually it was a kind of partially ballet, so they have this like a cultural center, and they were just practicing
Mhm.
different stuff, and then invited me to this photo shoot for them. And I remember this guy who was running the show. He was like I don't want to say bad word, but like he was really intense. Like he was just like yelling and screaming at these people, and I'm just like, oh my god, like what the hell is going on? And
Yeah.
I remember every image I took, and I was like, that was the beginning of the digital era. So he's like, show me this, I want to see it. And he's like, oh, I don't like this angle, I don't like this, I don't like that. You know, you turn this way, and I'm just like, okay, I have just tell me what to do, and then I'll do it my best. But I remember he was so particular about angles, and then like how like the pictures were one story, but if the person didn't perform, he liked it. He also was just like all over that person. And I remember
Yeah,
like,
it's all about the angle, the feet, the fingers, the head. Dancers are perfectionists, so everything must work, and it has
must
to
work,
work.
yeah.
And you
But
usually
you
have a
also have
very
to work
short
like
time.
yeah, and then you also have to work specific way, because you have just like literally split of the second to capture the moment, right? To capture the right
Mhm.
image to make it work, right? Because just a little bit off and it's pretty much off, right?
Well, yes, there is
Kind of.
that, but then you also have to direct the dancer and how to improve the shot. You need to be able to say and show what's wrong and what needs to be corrected to make it better. If you don't have that background, then you can be
Guessing.
basically missing the shot every time, and taking 10 wrong
Never.
pictures that will never be
Absolutely.
approved.
Absolutely. Perfect. Okay. So tell me how your photography changed over the years. Like how, like, looking at when, because I think every photographer nowadays has this kind of crazy starting point where they're doing pretty much everything, and then
Hmm.
weddings, portrait, I don't know, landscape, real estate, like whatever comes to your way, right? And then you slowly started navigating towards the things which you like to shoot. So how does path look for you? You kind of felt that you want to go towards ballet dancers, and then you want to go towards portrait photography, or at the beginning you were just like, I just want to shoot. Like, and how does path look like for you over the years?
I mean, it's trial and error. I've been trying like many different things and finding what it is the subject that I like working. Right now it's dancers, but I still like doing portraits the most. I
Hmm.
like doing portraits, and I like doing commercial jobs,
Hmm.
like advertising on shooting for posters, for like ballet performances and such. Um, I, I kind of feel like I go through stages, like it
Hmm.
usually lasts about a year and a half or two, where I like one thing, and then at the end of that stage, I'm like, okay, this is not working for me. I want to try something more, and you kind of go to the next step and start exploring
Hmm.
there. So it never stops. It's constantly evolving. Like what I like shooting today, I know it may be a little bit different in a year or two. But what kind of sticks with me is probably like my aesthetics or something,
Okay.
that I kind of try to keep through my photography. And my biggest challenge was my photography over the years were so different, and like different styles. I always like to experiment with post production, use different colors, use different lighting, and then you look at your images and they look very different from each other.
Yeah, I'm gonna
And
show some of the work, because like I just wanna we're gonna go for those images. Just everyone who is watching, we're gonna
oh yeah.
go for a bunch of
Hmm.
different shots, but I just want to show this incredible work of yours. Like
Hmm.
that's just amazing, and every little, and it's interesting for me how many I mean, I know photographers look at pictures completely different than the average person, right? Because most people just have this quick look at it and they move on. But when
Hmm.
I started kind of like looking closer, like each element, like the hands, the legs, the posture, the face expressions, everything is just put together so perfectly. It's just insane.
Yeah, like with this picture, for example, it's an annual picture for Le Grand Ballet,
Okay.
where in the beginning of the season I photograph all new dancers. So I have about like usually I have about 10 dancers in one day, and I have 20 25 minutes to do headshot and do dance pictures. So it's really, really quick. There is no time to do anything. So I have like 3 or 5 tries per pose, per action. So which dancers usually have to nail. So yeah, this dancer, he was amazing. So he kind of nailed it very quickly and had many poses.
Wow.
There is no time for exploration, so you get in. So that's another challenge for dancers. So once you're there, there is no time. Like you have to deliver very quickly. Absolutely. And it's my job to kind of say, okay, you point the foot, place your arm there, try your head this way, try jumping this way. Try to split faster, because everything has to come together. Sometimes the legs go faster than the arms are late, and so everything has to be in a peak moment.
So tell me how you even let's start kind of like unpacking this whole thing, and then let's start chatting a little bit about how the whole preparation. Let's start with that. How this whole preparation looks like, and then we're going to go into the gear, lighting, and all this crazy stuff which people want to probably listen to. But how you prepare for like shoot like this? Are you kind of coming up with kind of mood board? Do you have some ideas in your head, or you have some sample images which you're trying to kind of go after, or you just kind of go with the flow and then hopefully you can get something interesting? How does process look like for you? Because I know a lot of photographers out there, they just kind of like confused how they can approach some of those sessions, right? So speaking to someone like this who can nail something like this, how's this preparation process look like for you?
Well, for me, like I deal with the marketing department of each company. Usually, these are my contacts, and they usually have an idea that they can show me some couple samples of images that they want to get. With this particular shoot, I do it annually. So like another shoot is coming up in August. So I have to create similar images in the similar lighting setup with a similar background. So there is like a cohesive look of all like 40, 45 dancers, right? And then, and then basically, so let's say we need like a couple pictures of each dancer for our promotions, for our social media, for our newsletters to announce new dancers, and that's the point of all these pictures. And my prep, well, I see how I can make this work. I select the background, I choose the lighting. Sometimes I print out like inspiration images from the web. So I have like lay them out on the table so dancers can come and look through them. Sometimes I have a ballet book that dancers can flip through and get an inspiration for what they're gonna do there. On a shoot like this, it's all photo shoots are taken on location at their studios. So I would arrive maybe like 5 hours before the shoot to set up. It's a lot of like dragging gear back and forth in the studio, out of my studio. I'm on the 4th floor right now. My elevator has been broken since last October, so I have to bring everything by hand. Sometimes I hire assistants.
That's why you look so good.
Yeah. So yeah, it takes about 4 hours to do a setup. So I have a setup for full body shots, and next to it I have a setup for headshots. So we do headshots and move to full dancing pictures.
Okay, so let's talk about the gear. I know a lot of people out there, they're gonna want to listen to this stuff. So can you tell me your favorite gear you're using for your headshots and also for your full body shots? Like I've seen some of this stuff on your Instagram. You have some images, so it seems like you're using quite advanced studio lighting. And then let's dive into the gear world for a second.
Yeah, for headshots for these pictures, I keep it very simple. It's one small strip box on one side and one light on the background. So just like creates like a halo in the back. And I use 2 D1s for that one. And for all action pictures, I have 2 Profoto Pro 7As.
Okay.
They're fairly quick flash duration. When I need more, I rent Profoto D2s because they're pretty quick lights also. So I need that freezing moment,
Freezing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All my gear is used. I buy it used all the time. It's always between what I can afford and what's best for my work. Can I achieve what I need for this for this because for this amount of money from this light. Profoto 7As, they're pretty fast, not as not always as fast as I need, but usually when I keep it all on low settings, it's fast enough to get the shot from me.
Yeah, I think also buying the used equipment is also kind of, I don't know, European thing I found, right? Because people here sometimes they just go spend tons of money, and we are really kind of like watching
And
every
sometimes
dollar
you
we
pay
spend.
the price. Yeah, like I have 6 lights. Those bulbs, they die. You have to order new bulbs, and it's like $500 per bulb, and you have to pay the price. But I mean, yeah, to buy a Profoto D2, I mean, what is it, like 3,000?
Mhm.
I mean, it's crazy expensive. Like it's
Mhm.
and this is why I rent also. Before I had
Mhm.
before I didn't have a lot of gear. Like I'm lucky to have rental shops here, and I just go rent a couple lights and bill it to the client. And
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
poster shoots, for example, sometimes I have 3 setups going, so I need 3 setups to be ready
Wow.
to go. So I need extra lights, extra stands,
Wow.
extra modifiers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, equipment is not cheap, right? And if you're doing this stuff on that kind of level, you have to have something which can kind of deliver, the quality.
If you can,
And
yes, if you can compromise and save a couple bucks on used gear, then yeah, definitely look for it. And like
Mhm.
I bought 2D1s a couple years ago. I paid like $1,400 from a guy,
Mhm.
and that's Canadian, right? They cost
Yeah.
like 3,000 now used. Some people sell it. It's crazy. So
I think a lot of people just buying, they play for a little bit and they want to just get rid of it. I found because I also kind of big fan of buying like a used equipment,
and use
and
it
then
until it dies. Yeah, that's
exactly till you cannot really use it anymore, or you cannot even fix it. And I think right now those big companies, and again, nothing against them, but they got to the point that they don't want to fix some of the stuff. They have the certain models which they're going to fix, but anything below they're not even
oh
touch it
yeah, yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, Profoto
So
7As, they're out of warranty. That's it. They don't service them. You have to buy a second pack if you want to fix your current one.
wow. Yeah. That's kind of sucks, right? Like if you think about it, because like if you think really about it, most equipment is fixable, right? It's just the
Yeah,
willingness for
yeah,
them, to do that. But I think paying, let's say, I don't know, $200-300 for a fix, and then they can option that you have to buy it new stuff for $2,000-3,000. Of course, that's the kind of
yeah.
way to deal with it, right? So tell me a little bit more about. Let's kind of talk a little about the lighting, because I know you using some really interesting lighting. We're gonna go for those images in a second, so I'm gonna remove this for now. So tell me a little bit about your lighting. Let's start with headshots, because that's what I'm focusing on most of my career. So tell me a little bit, let's kind of break down your lighting for headshots. And I'm going to show some of your work here just to kind of have this so people can see it. Perfect.
Well,
This
this
is
is
more
more
of
of
a
a portrait.
portrait.
Like
Yeah.
I have a separate website for where I keep my corporate headshot work. It's just
Yeah.
typical Peter Hurley stuff. Like this is
Okay.
so for these portraits. I mean, for portraits, usually I go that I noticed. I like to keep the light like coming from left to right, and
Mhm.
from the highlights to lights, midtones, shadows, and going completely to black. I like
Okay.
playing with that gradient on the face and on the background. So you have, dark background, light face,
Mhm.
dark face, light background. So kind of that contrast.
Okay.
So this is my go-to, and this is usually where I start my
Mhm.
lighting with.
So how many lights typically you use? Using 3 lights? That's mainly the setup?
Here,
Yeah. I think
uh,
there's two
um,
lights.
There was a beauty dish and large umbrella coming from the same
Okay.
direction, and I think I had a ring light also for Phil. That's it.
For Phil.
I have a
Okay.
behind the scenes
Perfect.
actually somewhere on my YouTube channel from this shoot.
Okay. Perfect. Um, cool. So what about your favorite camera, bodies, lenses? What do you typically use for your stuff?
Right now, it's I use Fuji GFX 100S.
Okay.
Before that, I was using medium format. I was shooting with Phase One. I started with Phase One P30 plus, very old camera, medium, but it was amazing for me. Then I switched to Leaf Credo 40. That was like my favorite camera. I had the best colors from
Okay.
that camera, and I love that sensor like so much. But I had to sell it. Because it was very limiting, for the kind of work that I wanted to do. So I needed a
Okay.
camera that I can shoot everything with. It's 100
So what kind of
megapixels.
limitations, if we can dive into this? So let's start with the medium format. So like you were with the medium format and then you
Yes.
switched it, right? So what was
Well,
let's dive.
Leaf Credo 40. It's pretty much unusable. 200 ISO 200 and above. It's
Okay.
done. It's native
Done.
ISO 50. So and that's it. It's mostly just for studio. Autofocus is just one autofocus for points. So you have to pre-focus, shoot, pre-focus, shoot.
Okay.
It's still doing a pretty good job, but like you cannot like do focus tracking. So if you shoot, for example, dancers, you would have to like pre-focus, then they get out of the shot and they jump in the shot. You take a picture, then check focus again, recheck. So with the Fuji, you kind of eliminate that problem. It kind of tracks. You set the camera on a tripod and it kind of tracks your subject. So that's one thing. Another thing is just high ISO. Obviously, like I even shoot rehearsals sometimes, like or when I need like wide angle
Oh wow.
shot, for example. For rehearsals, I usually shoot with the Sony A7 III, and I bring my GFX as a backup, and sometimes you use it for wide angle shots, for example. So yeah, ISO 6400 is not a problem at all. So yeah, for any on location work,
That's
I needed flexibility. So flexibility at this point was more important for me than awesome skin tones of the leaf.
yeah. Absolutely. So let me kind of switch the gears a little bit and let's talk about like who inspires you as a photographer. Do you have anybody who you follow, anybody who you kind of get inspired from, any photographer who is like, this is the guy or person who, you really would like to reach their level? How does this whole thing look like on your end?
Yeah, all classic stuff, Peter Lindbergh. I love Vincent Peters' work. Today I was stuck at looking through Eugenio Recuenco. I think he's a Mexican photographer. He does like fine art where he creates like these sets and movies, of course. Right now, all my feed is filled with Oppenheimer stuff.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. So yeah, tell me a little bit about. Let's talk a little bit about business because that's something that I think a lot of photographers would like to hear. So is how you promote yourself, like how you basically how you managing your business to get clients. Like it seems like you are now established and then you have this
Hardly.
specific contracts and you work with specific companies, which I think they provide you the work you love to do, which is also pretty cool. But what kind of marketing you do for your work, for your company, for everything what you do? This is kind of like right now you are in the situation where the work is coming towards to you, or you still have to kind of work to get new potential clients?
Honestly, I don't do much marketing, but I should. So when the thing is, like, since moving to Montreal in 2015, everything has been like so slow, like getting your name out, and it's been what, like 8 years now, and
Mm-hmm.
it's tough. I mean, when I started doing, like, let's say, let's take my ballet work, for example, because I also work a lot with many dancers,
Okay.
um, like, for example, doing headshots for them every
Mm-hmm.
now and then. And dancers, they also work with many different companies. Sometimes they need rehearsal images, sometimes they need headshots, others
Mm-hmm.
time they need some portrait photography. So everything is so interconnected within this community,
Okay.
that eventually it will lead to more work when if you're involved. It's just the first couple of years is the hardest,
Mm.
because people tend to get to know you first couple of years before they actually, like, will ask you to do something.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes you have to remind them about yourself. And this is when,
Mm-hmm.
like, social media comes in,
So let's
showing
talk
your
about this
latest.
ballet. Well, not contract, but the deal you have. Like, did you have to present them? Because I'm sure there's tons of photographers out there who'd love to kind of have this kind of work you're doing, right? So if you, I don't know if you're even want to share this, like, how did you get in? Like, did they see your portfolio? Did they see your images? How this process look like? Did they kind of take you on board? Because this
My
stuff,
first,
this
yeah.
this ballet stuff, I think it's not easy to shoot, and I don't think anyone, like, you have to have, like, I know your background, that you have this experience, and you've been in this industry for so long that like exactly how this whole thing works. But now you just kind of you have to jump over the fence and start shooting this stuff, right? So
Hmm.
how did you get in?
um
Did you have any
it
body of
was
work before, or?
Yes, I had some ballet
Okay.
pictures, yeah. And I had some, like, pictures of, like, stage performances and rehearsals. When we moved to Montreal, actually, I'll tell you a story, because
Okay.
when my wife was offered the contract and we were moving to Montreal, the artistic director of that company called me and he said, "Well, don't you think it's gonna be like don't think it's gonna be a family business for you, because we have a photographer, and
Okay.
like, forget about it." And I'm
That's
like,
at
"Yeah,
least
yeah,
you were
yeah, no
honest.
problem. That's fair." So I have no intentions of doing that. So, but in the first, after, like, several months, like 6 7 months, they needed a photographer to shoot rehearsals, because they and live shows, because they didn't have anybody
Hmm.
uh, who would do this for them. So I started doing rehearsals, and at the time I was mostly doing portrait work, nothing else.
Hmm.
Um, and and that artistic director was retiring, and they brought another artistic director, who I work with currently. His name is Ivan Cavallari, and they commissioned me to take his official picture for announcement as a new artistic director. And yeah, once and since then, like, when he became artistic director, I was invited to do more work, like poster work,
Hmm.
and such and such. So I think it was we arrived to Montreal at the kind of like a right time, maybe. Kind of
Hmm.
got lucky with that, because we I appeared there during that transition period from one artistic director to another management. So they were changing things up,
Hmm.
and here I was, basically.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
that's
I just got it's a mix of luck and
yeah.
preparation and being
Well,
prepared.
you have to just be in the right moment, the right time, and then the
Yeah.
rest of this is the history. Like, I've learned that too. That sometimes even like some stupid photo shoot could lead me to something which I would never expect is going to happen, just because
Hmm.
I've done something before, or I talked to someone, or I did some shoot to somebody, and then that leads you to so many different opportunities. And I think that's I'm kind of glad you're sharing this, because a lot of photographers out there, and the community where I'm actually involved with, they always say that they have this expectation that the work is going to come towards to them, but it seems like you have to keep shooting, you have to keep, providing new images, you have to just share your work, you have to just kind of keep pushing, and eventually at some point, some magical is going to happen, right? And it is, as long as you're working constantly, and you, as you
Mm.
said, you the right moment, the right place, and then you basically creating this environment where you can, have this opportunity coming towards to you. That's amazing, and it's, and now you see, this little photo shoot just changed the entire career for you, for sure.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't take this for granted. Like, I know it's gonna end one day.
Hmm.
There will be another artistic director someday, and
Hmm.
in advertising world, things get changed all the time. They
Yeah.
work for 7-8 years, and then they just revamp everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's dive a little bit deeper into this, because this is one of the things I've been discussing lately, and I want to have this kind of also conversation with you. How you look at, how the AI coming into our industry. It seems like it's just getting involved in literally every element of our work. And it seems like this entire technology is progressing extremely quickly. It's getting
Mm.
better and better and better. How you look at this whole thing? Like, is it something that you think it's gonna we're gonna take in? Well, I'm sure we're gonna take advantage of it. I'm sure it's gonna just create this new opportunities. But like, are you kind of analyzing this whole thing? How you look at this whole AI situation right now in
I don't
the
know.
photography world?
When I see AI images, I just scroll past them. Like, I just right now they don't really resonate with me that
Hmm.
well. If you're talking about their image creation,
Yes.
it's kind of cool to use them for like mood board creation. For example, you have a concept, you can kind of quickly
Yeah.
sketch on using AI and present to a client.
Hmm.
Or there is an amazing advertising photographer, Eric Almas, and he
Yes.
recently posted an image. He does the composites. He shoots
Hmm.
models and then composite them into an environment. And he did that picture for a hotel or some
Hmm.
tourism company, and the background was created in AI, which is kind of cool. Also, it's gonna make things easier
Hmm.
for some of us, for sure. But I don't have strong
But
opinion.
yeah,
No.
yeah. But do you think it's gonna affect your work at some point? Do you think it's gonna, because like these days? Well, and it's like, I'm trying to scare anybody. Like, I'm
Mm.
trying to have a discussion on this, because like there's a lot of people who are like literally freaking out that the photography is gonna be over, because the AI will start creating images on its own, and we're not gonna need
But
photographers.
what's
Like, I don't really.
what's the argument here? AI will create images of what? Of
Yeah.
you if you
Well,
need a
that's what I'm
picture,
saying, right?
or of you. I mean, you can use the filter on Instagram and
Yeah, yeah.
or TikTok and post your AI
But
image,
filter
and
is a
it's
one
the
thing,
same thing.
right? Yeah, but filter is a one thing. But we're talking about just they can create image from the scratch, right? That's the thing. And again, like
No, I mean, like, for you as a client, for example, you need a portrait, let's say,
yeah,
right? You will still need a photographer
you-
to
yeah,
take a
to
picture of
have the
you,
starting
right?
point. Yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah.
if you're working at a company, large company, you're not gonna go to Mid Journey to create a picture
The image of you. Yeah,
for your CEO, for example, right? No, it's
absolutely. No, no, no.
ridiculous,
Yeah, yeah. That's well, and that's why I just want to have the kind of like a would like to hear your opinion on this, right?
It's
Because
a tool that will make photographers' job easier. Let's say,
absolutely.
yeah, some retouchers will go out of business probably, and that's kind of
Yeah,
uh, sad part, but uh, yeah, I don't know.
that's the
But
reality.
photography, yeah.
So, okay, you mentioned about the retouching. So let's kind of dive into this. Are you retouch your images yourself, or you outsourcing your retouching? How this whole retouching process look like in your case?
I do myself right
Okay.
now. I do everything myself, but I would like to outsource. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, it seems like, yeah, and then also AI is taking over a little bit too. Like, I got this new interesting
Yeah, I watched a couple of your
number.
videos. Yes,
Yeah, just to
I'm
speed
curious.
up the
I'm curious
process.
to try that, but I just learning that. You need
Yeah,
time to commit to learning that. Um,
absolutely. Well, I think they're gonna definitely help out to speed up the process, right? Because that's was one of the, I don't know how long
Hmm.
you spend on retouching, but for me, like whenever you have, I don't know, 20, 30 images to retouch was always kind of big part of the process, and then you have to
Yeah.
retouch those images, and it was extremely time consuming. So nowadays, I'm kind of happy some of those AI plugins or whatever you call them,
Hmm.
that you can implement them into your retouching process, because they can really quickly speed up some of
Yeah.
those manual kind of labor we had to do, right?
Yeah, I'm curious to try.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you some links if you, I don't know which ones you use, but we can have a discussion later. But
Hmm.
I'll be more than happy to provide you some stuff, because yeah, well, you know what? To be honest with you, they're not perfect. They're really far from being perfect. They missed a lot of things. They kind of have a hard time to analyze some of those images, which are tricky, or like there's different lighting, and they just kind of getting confused a little bit. So you have to pay attention. But overall, you can scale it back, you can push it a little bit harder, depends on the image. But some of those most difficult or those most time consuming
Hmm.
elements of retouching, they can really just cut it in a couple of minutes, which is interesting. So, okay, so let's. I have another question for you. So, what is the description of good portrait for you? Like when you look at the portrait, how you could describe it? This is a good portrait.
Oh, that's a tricky question. A good portrait. I mean,
Based on your opinion, you look at the image and you can, okay, this is good, this is bad. So, what qualify image?
oh, my pictures that I take. That I take.
Oh, absolutely. We'll talk about your work.
I mean, the emotional aspect. I mean, do
Mhm.
you really believe that? It doesn't necessarily have to. Yeah, it's the authenticity. Whether
Mhm.
it was played by a person or whether it was generally he or she was feeling it that way. But if you look at the picture and you're like, okay, yeah, I believe it. There is something here that kind of grabs my attention.
Mhm.
Um, and I can feel something, then that's a good picture.
Mhm.
That's the
So,
first thing, the emotional aspect, the
mhm.
emotional, and hence, and that's why it kind of grabs your attention, and
Mhm.
everything else is secondary, lighting, retouching.
Yeah, it's like addition. So how you
Yeah.
analyze this? Because this is something also what it's kind of interesting for me. And then like I don't want to go back to the AI or whatever, um, but we have this kind of gut feeling. You see the image and there's something which grabs you, right?
Mm.
Um, so like let me kind of go into your kind of process. So let's say you have a photo shoot and you just choosing the final images. So how do you do that? Like you do this with the client, you're doing this by yourself, and you're just kind of giving the client the final product. How does process look like on your end? So let's say you have a session, you have, I don't know how many images, 50, 100, 200 images you shoot, and then you're
Yeah.
choosing a few images. So who makes the selection, and how you kind of like going through that process?
um I get my clients involved in the
Hmm.
process, so
Okay.
always shooting tethered,
Better.
always reviewing images. I really enjoy working with musicians.
Okay.
Some, like during the pandemic, I was doing like a couple like city covers or digital covers for Spotify, and
Hmm.
one of the images, for example, you had of the guy on the orange background,
Okay.
like that, like that was one of the covers. Um, what was the question? How I
About,
select?
yeah, selecting the images.
Yeah, so we are shooting. So let's say we have one set, we have one look. We're shooting several images,
Hmm.
10, 20 images. We review them. Usually review them together. Oh, I like this.
Hmm.
He says, I like this. I like this. I'm trying to get a feeling of what the person likes as well, because in the end, it's a commission, right?
Okay.
Um, and after the shoot, I make a selection of all best images that I think are the best, and
Hmm.
those are the images that I send as proofs.
Okay.
either as a gallery or through WeTransfer or Dropbox.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent them the proofs. They look through images. They select their images. Whatever we agreed on. For example, it's a full day shoot with 4 or 5
Mm-hmm.
setups and 10 final images, let's say,
Okay.
right? So and they select 10 images.
The
If
finals.
there's extra, I charge them extra. So they send me their selection. They pay everything in full, and then I retouch them and send back to
Back.
them as a final product.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so let's jump into your work, and then what I would like to do here. Let me go here. So what I would like to do, let's kind of give me a little bit behind the story. Like what the shoot was for. If you could just tell me a little bit about the lighting, a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
the big picture of how this image was created. It was your idea or it was your concept. Just give me some because some of those shots they're extremely interesting. So I just want to, and then
This
on the
is yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and one of the things also what I want to point it out here is that sometimes we see the image, we get some emotions from it, whatever, but most of the time, like there's much bigger story to it, right? And that's why I love doing this, because I think there's always some interesting thing behind it. So let's kind of go through those shots and let's kind of
Maybe
discuss
not
them.
always, just kind of.
Not always, most of the time.
Well, this is he's a singer, JMOS. So he contacted me to do some pictures for his new single release, and this was the cover
Okay,
actually. Yeah, he pulled
nice.
together some inspiration images, and then based on those images, I was. I created a couple setups, and this was one of the setups. We needed something like striking, very noticeable. Even like like on Spotify, it's a very small thumbnail.
Yeah,
So you have to go for that contrast
punch.
and color contrast, and so yeah, this was selected as one of as the main cover. It
Okay.
worked great as a square image also. Yeah, and it's just that color, the complementary colors of orange and cyan, they just work so well together.
That's weird.
And
Yeah,
and cyan on his black skin, it was amazing. Like I love shooting black skin.
yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little about the lighting. How to set up? If you want to share, of course. If you don't, we can move on.
No,
But
it was an orange background, orange or yellow, I don't remember, and there was one light on the
Mhm,
background with there might be an orange filter or no, I don't remember. And it
mhm.
was a big beauty dish, Mola Setti,
Okay.
with a grid, it's not blue gel, it's like cyanish kind of. It was with a
Mhm.
grid placed behind him, just towards the camera, just to create that nice contrast and put his
Mhm.
all front of his body into shadow. I really like those like backlit kind of stuff.
Absolutely. No, it's really cool shot. So
Yeah,
everyone
just
who's
just two
watching,
lights. Yeah.
yeah, and everyone who's watching, if you go to your website, which we're going to link it, this is just one of the images, of this artist. There's a bunch
Yeah, I
of
think I
other
have a
shots.
folder
Yeah, there's
with full
bunch of,
shoot. Yeah.
but this one was like one of the most striking ones. It was kind of interesting. Like when you look at,
Hmm.
collection, this image is like really kind of pops out right away. Okay, so we talk a little bit about it, but let's jump into this one. If you could just share this story, because this is, one of one of your amazing shots.
Mm.
So if you could just tell me a little bit behind the story. You said this was just the promotional material, so let's
Yeah.
let's kind of dive into this.
There is not much. Whatever I covered, that's pretty much it. So he
Okay.
came in. He came in. We tried couple of jumps like this. We tried some other stuff, but this was one of the shots.
Mhm.
Actually, in the original, the background, he was jumping so high, like he jumped high. The hand was above the background bar.
Oh, okay.
So I did the full background replacement, and
Mhm.
I had to extend the background more.
Okay.
And yeah, no, that's
So
it.
because you said that you've done just a couple shots. So like when you took it, like have you seen it right away? Okay, this is it. Like you took the shot and you just like, okay, we got that. Probably with this one.
Yeah, usually like when I get it, I we try to do it a couple more times. Well, let's try to do it better. What can we
Yeah,
improve
yeah.
here?
Okay.
And let's see if we can beat it, and at least at that moment, okay, at least we know that we have the shot, even if
Hmm.
the next couple jumps doesn't work or something, because even though they're very trained, it's incredibly difficult for them to nail same pose
Yeah.
two
No
times in
kidding.
a row. So there is always
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
No,
would
it's
think it would be easier, but it never is. No.
yeah.
Um,
So I'm
so
sure
yeah,
he
no, there
must
were a
be
couple
extremely
good shots,
impressed.
but the
Yeah,
action shot, this was it. Yeah, this was the
that
best.
was it. Yeah. No, no, that's like you just nailed this one. It's kind of, and this is what I said, with this type of stuff, like you got to have your hand, you have to know exactly where you push the button, right? Because even split more, like, I don't know, half of a second later would be completely be a different shot, right?
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
but the picture looks so good. Not a lot because of me, but also because of the dancer.
No, 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 but that's
When you have
collaborative work.
an amazing subject,
Yeah, no, no, no.
it's it
I get it.
makes your work so much better,
Yeah, no,
look
no,
so much
I
better.
absolutely understand that. But this whole thing has to work. It's not just,
Yeah, yeah.
there's two sides of the story which needs to align together, and
Mm,
then we have to just, make this whole thing like a one thing and just make it work.
exactly. Yes, exactly.
Um, okay, so let's talk about this one. I love this shot.
Oh, it's very old, very very old. I think I was doing like a test for a model. It was done
Okay.
back in Moncton when I was just starting out. I don't remember what the light. I think it was just one Mola
Okay.
beauty dish, Mola Demi, no sock, just above the camera, and she had massive hair.
Okay. Yeah,
So it kind of went tight on the face.
yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Um, for the lighting, there was Mola Demi on top. There
Hmm.
was a strip box with a grid behind her to create that rim light, and I think there was a light on the background as well.
Hmm. So what this shoot was for? It was like a commercial
Oh, it
work?
was also like it's also very no. It was a personal shoot. It
Okay.
was right after I quit dancing. I was going through stage, figuring out what I want to do next.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just a personal shoot, kind of trying to connect my ballet past and my photography present.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Kind of see what I can apply. Yeah, I'm not a lot of photographing skiing, and so
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty good
yeah.
for, starting out, that's for sure. So let's talk about this image.
Uh, he's a choreographer. They were on tour in Montreal, and
Hmm.
I offered them to take a few pictures of him at the time. Like he's pretty famous in Russia, but I mean
Hmm.
you can skip him. I don't
Okay.
care about him anymore.
All right. Let's skip him then.
This is
Let's
another
go to
this is choreographer Etienne.
the.
He's from Belgium. He was here doing a ballet for Le Grand Ballet de Montréal. The ballet was Carmen, and it also loosely based on like virtual reality.
Okay.
So I had an idea of doing a portrait of him, kind of like slightly inspired by his choreography. That's
Hmm.
why you have this mirror. It's the the story of the show is like a guy and a girl, they put on VR glasses, and you have this virtual reality where
Hmm.
his avatar is girl and her avatar is a boy, and they kind of like fall in love together.
Hmm.
So I kind of use the mirrors to show that alternative reality, that virtual reality, kind of show those two worlds. And those, like, I put little like design pieces on the background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was kind of the idea. And it's red because it's Carmen, so its music is Carmen Suite, so it's Spanish, so lots of red there.
Perfect. No, it's really. So did you have this idea beforehand, or this was kind of evolving throughout a photo shoot?
No, I had the idea before. Actually, it's rare when I have ideas. I this is why I like commercial photography. The client gives me the concept, and I have something to build on. But coming up on my ideas from scratch, it's tough for me. My wife, she's amazing. She has so many like ideas. Like, she had the idea of doing ballet mothers, a photo shoot that I do of Le Grand Ballet dancers who became mothers, and we do this shoot. We try to do this every year for Mother's Day, and see how their children grow. So, yeah.
That's awesome. No.
But for me, creative part is tough. Like, coming up with ideas, it's very, it can be tough sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. But well, you're good at executing ideas, so that's
the easy part. That's the easy part for me. Yeah, and yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. This is more portrait headshot work.
Yeah, this is a headshot for a dancer. Just a window light, nothing. Window lights in front of a white background. Yeah, and I do window light so much more now. Like, I usually when I have dancers or some artists, I have a setup, like my studio lighting setup, and then after I'm done doing that, I go to take some window light shots, and they always choose all window light shots. Like, maybe I should stop doing
the lighting and start
the lighting, because it just looks too commercial. It's just it's too clean, maybe too corporate. Well, I would say. But window light gives you that a little bit of an edge, a little bit of that gray.
Going straight to the basics, right? Window light, and simple, straightforward, and the result, they're always good, right? Like, there's nothing you can kind of beat that.
Yeah, you still have to control it. Use boards, lots of black boards, and I have a bar, like a LED bar, that sometimes I use as a small, like a catch light in the eyes. I said, if it's color, I set the color temperature to the outside. Try to match it as best as possible.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and the last image.
I think is it? I think it's just like street box, just a self portrait. I was doing tests for a photo shoot for that choreographer Etienne with red background. So this was one of the tests that I did.
Yeah,
that's it. There's no story.
Cool.
That's all.
There's no story behind it.
That was a test shoot. I did lots of self portraits.
Yeah, good. No, well, you got to practice, right? So and I think being at the front of the camera, it's also not easy for us, right? Because it's something that a lot of photographers avoid at all costs. They like to be on the other side of the camera, but putting yourself. That's
well, yeah.
Cool.
And sometimes when I see the lighting looks good, I might try something to actually give something to the camera. Well, it never hurts to have a good new portrait or new content for a story.
The interesting thing is you've been also performer, right? So that's also, I think, something that you have a little bit of experience in that department for sure.
Yeah, maybe.
Perfect. Okay, so my last question to you is, what would be the advice you would give to photographers who are starting off? Someone who, they want to become photographer, they want to start this journey, they want to be successful. What kind of advice would you give to that kind of person, based on your experience, based on your knowledge, based on what you have achieved over the years? What was the hardest part of this whole journey?
Well, I can speak from my experience.
Yeah.
Based on my experience, I shouldn't be giving any advice to anybody.
Okay.
It may look very how we may appear very successful, but a lot of hard work goes into this.
Oh yeah.
I can say what advice I would give to myself. I would say be more confident. Kind of don't doubt yourself. Make a decision and kind of go for it. Whether it's like approaching clients or executing your ideas, just be more comfortable, because like doubts kind of that's all that holds us back pretty much, and this is the most for me this is the even right now this is what I'm going through. Like I know I should find time to do more personal work, but I keep procrastinating. Like well, while you're thinking about these ideas and start doubting them, you should be. I know I should be shooting them, but sometimes it's just hard to take that step. To keep moving forward. That's. Forget about lighting, retouching, editing. I mean, it's all cool, but there are bigger issues that holds us back.
So what kind of issues? Let's jump for a couple of minutes.
Well, this is what I told you about. This
keep shooting,
self-doubt, constant self-doubt, and comparing yourself to other photographers. Start analyzing your work, what you've done. What you've done in the past, is it good? Is what you're creating now, is it better than what you've done 2 years ago, for example? Because when you get busy with client work, you stop doing personal work. I think this is when you stop growing. You have to keep evolving, keep doing personal work.
Yeah, absolutely. No, 100% agree. And I think, but from the other hand, what I want to say and add to what you just said, that maybe this is also like we need this little bit of self-doubt to keep pushing forward, right? Because that's what's gonna push us a little bit sometimes. I know it's hard to do those steps sometimes because it's a difficult industry to be in.
It's all here.
It's all here. Yeah, no,
it's all here. It's all in the head.
100%. Perfect. Okay, so you know what? We are kind of reaching the 1 hour. So thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for all your input, your experiences, the stuff which you shared with me and with the audience. Everyone, I highly recommend it to check your work, follow your social media. There's so much interesting things to look at and just enjoy the amazing creations you're doing. So thank you so much. We will link all your informations to the podcast, and I hope one day we can do it again. Maybe we'll see in a while, because we all constantly creating some new stuff. So I'm really going to be looking forward to check what you're doing and seeing your images, new projects, and all this stuff. So I truly appreciate it, and thank you. We could do it under such a short notice because like we've been in touch for the last week. And
thank you, Rafal. Yes, thank you, Rafal, for having me. It was a pleasure speaking with you for sure.
Absolutely, thank you.
Bye.